Welcome back, boys and girls, and, well, whatever else you may identify as. Jim here, and we are going to get into another video on Heretic Knives. If you go back on my channel just a little ways, maybe a year and a half ago, I did a video on the Hydra. Mine was number 9. Very slick, very cool out the front knife. And we're going to be taking a look at another very slick, very cool out the front knife right here. And this one happens to be... This is the Cleric Tanto, and this one is done with a hand ground blade and a very interesting finish on the chassis. Now, for those that are unaware, just a very brief history on Heretic Knives, founded in 2015 by Anthony Marfione Jr. and his wife Jessica. And if you have followed the Marfiones at all, you know that it's becoming an expanding family of knife makers. His brother is also a knife maker, and they obviously learned from their father, Anthony Marfione, Tony, as we all know him. And what the kids are doing, they're really taking a lot of the knowledge that they got from their father. They're doing some of the same stuff, and then some stuff that's way outside of the box, and thinking, obviously, independently, and doing a great job at it. This is the second knife that I've bought. And I'm very, very happy with Heretic Knives. I'm very happy with the quality, very happy with the customer service. And you know what? It's a growing business. He's a young guy with a young business, and I love to support that. And I feel very fortunate to have been able to do so. So let's go ahead and get this open, take a look at the inside of the packaging. There is the warning, hey, you've got a sharp knife here. Durr! You'll have a plastic baggie with your knife inside, and then... I don't know if all the knives come like this, but this one is marked as serial number 1 and signed by TJ right there. So let's get that out of the way, get the baggie out. And the reason why I bought this and how I ended up buying it was right before Blade Show on Heretic's Instagram page. They posted a picture of this knife, this exact knife. And I went, oh shit, I have to have that. I really think this is a cool pattern. I really want to get this. And this was all I had seen. And the response I got back was, yeah, sure, we can deliver it at Blade Show. It's going with us anyway. And I asked about the blade finish, and I asked about what the reverse side was. And found out, much to my happiness, that the reverse side is all marbled carbon fiber. And I am a big fan of marbled carbon fiber. And then I found out that it was going to be a hand ground blade, not a strict production knife, which, again, fantastic. But it was all stonewash. And I'm not a really big fan of just a plain stonewash knife. So I asked if he could do a quick, even just on the flats, do a nice hand rub satin on there. He agreed to do so. And that is how this one came to be. As you see, the compound ground Tanto blade is done in the style that he obviously learned from his father. His father kind of made that a signature of his. I love the way the spine drops down at the point. It's actually the same kind of thing that I do on my knives that I make. When I make a Tanto, I like to bring it down toward the tip. It just makes it look a bit more aggressive, and I love to see that. So that is very quickly the overall look in a nutshell. I'm gonna let you stare at that for a second, and then we'll talk more about specifics. Starting with the overall sizes, you're looking at a total overall length of 8 3/4 inches with a blade length of 3.5 inches. And what's funny is a lot of times when you get into out the front knives, you get really weird measurements. You know, instead of being, 8 3/4, it's, 8.875 inches instead of a 3.5 inch blade. It's a 3.46 pint, at a couple of decimal points. I kind of like the fact that it's just super simple and rounded up to the next even number. Kind of makes me happy. The blade steel is 154 cm, and these are hollow ground. And I always want to call it the frame. I know I like to call it the chassis. The chassis is 6061 aluminum with the marbled carbon fiber backing. And my favorite feature, believe it or not, is actually the side switch. Now, when you take a look at this in comparison to probably the most famous out the front knife out there, the Microtech Ultratech, you look at where the activation switches are. Absolutely nothing wrong with having it up on the top. A lot of us are used to it. And you know, Benchmade has their versions that have a side switch. And for whatever reason, I've just never been a fan. And I really can't tell you why. I don't really have a good reason for it. I'm just kind of used to having the knife in my hand. I've got it this way, and there's my switch. However, I found that I really, really like the feeling of the switch on the side. I think it also has to do with the way that he has shaped the switch and the way the steps are done. It's a very, very sure grip without being overly serrated. I really like the overall design of the switch, the tactility to it, the function to it. It's just really, really nice. And there's a great degree of tension to that switch. You definitely feel that this has some strong springs in there. For those that are newer to out the front automatic knives, one of the things that I see a lot, my really old automatic knives video where I'm just talking about automatic knives in general, that's gone up over 1 million hits. Thank you guys so much. And a lot of people that commented on there, they're worried because they've never played with an automatic knife, and they think that as you're putting the knife in your pocket or pulling it out, that you could easily hit the switch and get that thing to open and fire. Let me tell you, man, that takes almost, I believe on the Microtechs, it's 12 or 12 and a half pounds of pressure to get that thing to fire and to retract. So it takes a very conscious effort, a very long stroke, and a lot of work, really, to get that out there. So there is no concern about it firing in your pocket. It's not a plunger style or a push button style that's on this. This is as safe as really you can make any automatic knife. Now, living here in Texas, we no longer have knife laws, which is fantastic. So we're allowed to carry automatics, and I do it from time to time. It's not an all-the-time thing, but this right now is the one that I reach for the most often. Here is the marking on the side of the chassis, Heretic Knives Cleric, serial number 1, made in the USA. I love the detail of the painting that's been done on here. Really, really cool stuff. And, you know, I'm not really a blood spatter kind of guy. There was just something about it that screamed a little bit Dexter and a little bit Miami Vice. There's something kind of 80s cool about this that I dig. Maybe if it weren't gray, it wouldn't have struck me enough to get it. There were different choices in colors. I think there was a bright toxic green splatter. I actually want to get one of those next because I think that's really cool against gray. And then they muted it a little bit by having extra spatter done in black instead of maybe something like white or something that would have been too bright, and it just would have looked more cartoonish than it is. I just think it's a handsome looking knife all the way around. The high quality marble carbon fiber looks fantastic. And out in the sunlight it shimmers nicely as marbled CF should. This is the Heretic pocket clip. Some people like it, some people don't. All I can tell you is this: it works really good. It is absolutely perfect retention. It goes in the pocket and it stays right where I put it. It is never shifted, never moved, never slid out by accident, but then it's also not too much tension where I have a hard time getting it in or out. It's just really, really well made. Would I have liked to have seen perhaps a nice titanium sculpted clip? Sure, absolutely. But you know, this is meant to be, on the production versions, a non-hand ground version, a very affordable knife. I don't want to quote the prices because I might be wrong. They're one of the most affordable quality out the fronts that I've seen. So, you know, it's not going to have every bell and whistle like that. So I'm perfectly accepting of that clip, especially because it works exceedingly well. Let's give you some side-by-sides to an Ultratech, because even if you don't own an Ultratech. I'm fairly certain that you have at least handled one. So it is a little bit longer. It is certainly quite a bit taller. And with the blades open, I'm going to lay it this way so they're not laying on their pocket clips. And they'll lay flat, or as flat as it can for having a switch there. So I'm going to line it up to the glass breaker, and you can see there. Overall, there's not a huge difference in the length, but there is a big difference in the thickness and in the width of this. So the Ultratech, fairly skinny, and the Cleric, kind of fat, but I like the feeling. You know, and this really isn't unlike handling a combat Troodon or something of that model or make from Microtech, so it's just a little bit bigger. This is, and it's, I believe this would be a little bit smaller than a Scarab. It's been a lot of years since I've owned my Scarab, but I do believe this is a hair smaller than the Scarab would be as well. But it's very lightweight, very easy to carry. The action is very positive and very, very fast. And honestly, you're buying an automatic knife. That's what you want more than anything else. You want that action to be positive. You want that sound. And it sounds a little bit better than a lot of other ones that I've had because I think the carbon fiber here gives you this thunk instead of that more echoey chirp that maybe an all aluminum. I'm going to put this right next to the microphone and you can hear it. This is the Ultratech. Definitely solid, but there's something different about this. Yeah, it's just a different sound. It's very, very cool. So I like the way that it fits my hand. He's done some pretty decent ergonomics here for what is essentially a box-shaped, a rectangular-shaped knife. So it ramps up here, and then it has a little tiny hump right here. It's concaved just a little bit, and it's got very light jimping in all of those areas. It's not overdone jimping that's going to tear your thumb or your fingers up, but it's like it's fit right with the curves of your hands and fingers. This is made to fit really, really well. So honestly, that's all I can really say. You've got a good blade steel, 154 cm. It's a hand ground blade, beautiful compound grind, nice two-tone finish with the hand rub satin on there. I love the beautiful customization of the splatter artwork. I really, really, really like the switch. There are some switches that are good, and some switches that are and some switches that are great. And this is one of those greats. Your finger doesn't slide off of it, and it's also not so sharp that it's cutting into your thumb either. Because again, with relatively heavy springs in there, you're digging into that switch. So you don't want something that's going to cut you up. Again, really, really nicely done materials. All the way around, I think it's a winner. When it comes to me carrying it out the front, this is almost the only knife that I carry anymore. I don't carry this one quite that often because Tony made this special for me. It's the only one that has this particular blade on the SL series, the Sith Lord. So I'm just afraid of something like really bad happening to it, and, then obviously I can't replace it. So I love the size. I've always been an Ultratech guy. I've always loved them. I've had more Ultratechs than anything else. But I like the slightly beefier feel that this has, and really there's very little weight difference, and that little bit of weight is just going to be the slightly bigger blade. That's the other thing I should bring up just very quickly. You may not be seeing it because of this beautifully done top swedge here. Try to get the light on there just right. It's kind of hard. One of the things that some people don't like about out the fronts is you'll have a big handle and a skinny little blade, and it looks imbalanced to them. This is one of those knives that I don't feel really suffers from that. And when the light hits it right, and you can see the full blade, not where that top swedge kind of disappears, but when the light hits it, you can see there's a nice balance there visually of the size of the blade versus the size of the chassis. So that's another thing that's going for this knife, I think, that attracted me to it as well. So anyway, that's just my quick thoughts on it. If you've ever wondered about Heretic knives, not a lot of people are really out there talking about them, unfortunately. Not as much as, you know, some other brands, ProTech and Microtech and this and that. That's just because of the youth of the brand. But trust me when I tell you, if you if you find a model that you really like, and you choose to spend your money with Heretic knives, I honestly think that you're going to be very, very impressed and very happy. I don't really see this leaving my collection anytime soon. It's been in my EDC rotation. I've gotten to the point where there's only a handful of knives that I really carry a lot. And this has become one of them ever since I got it back at the Blade Show in June. I'm exceedingly happy with it and proud to own it. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to get back at you. But there's a zillion dealers for them. I couldn't even list them all off if I had time, but I'll put the Heretic Knives link in the description below, and I'm very certain they have a list of their dealers there as well. For now, I'm out of here and I'll see you guys on the next video.